Hello, this is Howie here with Cedar Creek Homestead, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. And the subject of this video is the cost of ranching, or the cost of raising cattle. It's going to be focused on cattle here for just a few minutes, some things I'd like to talk to you about. It's been asked a few times about could I share expenses and things and what it costs to raise cattle, and I'll just give you some numbers from this year. For instance, we have about 100 mama cows, and we have some of them are young heifers that actually will not calve this year. They're not bred yet, so we're not quite at 100 productive cows. We are more like, we got about 85 productive cows. So hopefully this next year we'll have 85 calves born. We have, let's see, I believe there is, yeah, it's going to be about right. We got about 50 that's still doing the calf. Now, I start my cattle year kind of funny, but I start just the cattle business in September. They start calving in September, and we calve clear through till the 1st of June is our window. And I keep shortening the window, but anyway, without getting off subject a whole lot, we have that length of time to try to have, we would like to have ideally 85 baby calves. And usually you'll keep, that many. You'll probably want to keep 10 or 15 replacement heifers. That's what we do. Now, some people sell everything and they just go buy heifers. Some people have somebody lined up and they just always buy their heifers from them. They're bred to certain bulls and all that, and they sort of certain what they call EPDs and stuff that they're genetics and things that they want. But anyway, so we have about from September till May, we want to get all of our calves out. Then we have to buy hay. And hay right here, this year I paid $30 a bale for most of my hay. I had a guy that cut some hay. It's very good hay. A lot of Bermuda grass in it, but he has a few sprouts in it. It's new ground, and so he offered that to me for $20 a bale. And I think I might have gotten 40 bales at that $20. Now, when you unroll it, you'll see a sprout every once in a while, but a lot of good Bermuda grass in there. And in a few years, if he keeps cutting it and going, he will kill out those sprouts. And I would have gave him 30 a bale. I would have had no problem with that at all. The cows won't eat that piece of wood, little thin sprouts, but they will eat that Bermuda grass. And that's our primary grass here in Oklahoma. But you figure $30 a bale. And this year, I bought, I figured about $10,000 I spent on hay this year. I bought a few more bales than normal, but I spent about $10,000. Then I also supplement with grain and salt, and that will come out to about $5,000 more dollars. So we have $15,000 to keep the cattle. Now there's a lot of other expenses you can add into that, but just to feed them, just the basics we gotta have. We gotta make $15,000 a year just to break even. And your break even point is when you take all of your expenses. So really, if $15,000 in feed, but let's say I spend $15,000 on other things. Say I have to have new tires for the tractors, vet bills, shots, vaccinations, worm medicines, fertilized for the land. So let's just say for just throwing it out there, let's say we spent another $15,000. So now we have $30,000. So we have a opportunity to have 85 calves. So if you kept 15 of the best heifers out of the 85, of course, usually you'll have about half steers and half heifers. There have been years that we've had it kind of weird, where we'd have more heifers than we had steers, or we had more steers than we had heifers. And if you have more steers, of course, that helps because you don't have to worry about keeping heifers that way. And also, steers bring more money. But let's just say after you got through and you kept your heifers, you're going to have some cows that don't calf. But let's say you ended up being able, a good year, you were able to sell 60 calves, and they averaged $500 apiece. That's $30,000. So if I spent 15 on feed and 15 on other things, there's 30,000. I mean, I'm right there. Now, if you make $1, in my mind, you're still profitable. But let's say in this, that was figuring 500 a head. Now, mine last year averaged between 700 and 800 per animal. So, you know, this year the cattle were down a little bit. Now they're coming back up. I still have some calves from last year. I have about 27 calves from last year left over. I want to keep some of those for heifers. I have more heifers than I do the steers in that bunch. But anyway, I want to keep the best heifers, see how they do. And I'm letting them grow, and I'm going to wait until spring of 2020 to try to sell them with the hope that they'll bring more money. But right now, if I sold 60 head and I made $30,000 and say I spent 30, well then you're right there. But if you say you spent all but $1 of 30,000, then technically you're what they call in the black. You've made a profit. You've spent less than you made more than you spent, and that's the whole thing. You got to bring in at least break even. I would say this: if you're new into cattle ranching and you're just getting started, I'd say plan on a few years that you're not going to make as much money. If you're going to start any kind of business, if you're going to open up a restaurant, you need to be able to operate without making extra money. Let's say you need to break even your first year, at least break even. But you want to be able where you don't have to take any money out of the business, if you can, for at least 3, perhaps 5 years before you get your hand in the cookie jar. Because you'll have to want to take your profits you're making and turn back into whatever business you have. It's the same with the cattle. You're going to have things that you're going to find out that you need. I don't recommend just buying everything out. Start off as slim as you can in your operation, as low as you can go. I remember reading about Sam Walton, who started Walmart company over in Bentonville, Arkansas, and I read one of the books about him, and said that he didn't want a big phone system, and it took forever. I mean, they were really growing before he would spend the extra money to get a phone system. But he knew that you had to watch your expenditures, and that is something in business. But with cattle, so anything you can do to lower your feed cost. Now, you don't want to lower your feed cost and hurt your animals. Some people will say, well, I'm only going to feed this much hay. I'm going to cut my hay in half. Well, they do that, but then their cows starve, and some die of starvation, or they get so sick they won't rebreed, or get so poor they won't rebreed. And when they get poor, also diseases seem to be more prevalent. If you have a good, fat, healthy cow, it seems like they don't get as sick as much as the poor, diseased ones. And then let's look at another scenario: is if you're cattle ranching and you decide that you need a big tractor. Around here, you got to have a dually pickup. That's very important. You can't be a rancher. I do too have a dually pickup. I have an old 88 1-ton F350 Ford pickup. It's a big one. It's a nice truck, but it's an 88 model. It's got like 70,000 miles on it, and it still runs. I just had it tuned up the other day. Now, it's all paid for, so I don't have to worry about it. But if you go buy a new one, I seen one up here for sale on the mountain up here for like they wanted $60,000 for a diesel rig. It's a dually used truck, by the way, 4-door. I mean, it was nice, but you know, you got to sell a lot of cattle to pay for that. So there's like these big John Deere tractors. Oh man, they have some nice stuff. It's tempting just to go get one. I mean, these air ride seats and everything, but if you're going to pay for it, if you don't have the money to buy it outright, and you got to pay for it, you got to figure that in your cost. Now, if you have a job out where you can supplement your farm, that's what I do. I work out so I can supplement the farm a little bit. But I don't want to do a lot of that. I want the farm to pay for itself. If you're in business, you want that business, and then my job that I work out is a business, and it is profitable. But I purposely work it to make sure it's profitable. The thing that's different with owning my own business is I can set my price, what I'm going to charge. If you're in the cattle ranching and you sell your cattle at the auctions, which like we do, your cattle set based upon the market. And that's primarily what most people do around here. They just sell them at the market. Now, there are some around here that's getting into butchering their own animals and selling the beef. And that's a whole nother scenario there. I figure that you should spend about $300 per animal a year on expenses. So and no more than that. Now, I have people tell me that they spend $600-800 a year, but you know, if you have 100 head and you spend $300 a piece, that's $30,000. It's a lot of dough you're putting out there. So just something to think about is you know, what are you going to do there? You know, trying to manage your expenses. So if you buy land, and I'll give you an example. A guy I know owns some land, and his son wanted it. And his son wanted to rent it, and the daddy had an agreement with the guy that he would rent it out for, say, it's 4 or 5 years, with, you know, every year with the option to re-up. And if you're going to rent land, get a situation like that. Get it where, now I don't have any written contracts on anything that we rent, but we've rented it so long now. My dad was renting it way before I started renting it. Now I'm renting the land, and it's just going on now, and you know, I could lose it in any year, but we keep the rent paid a year, you know, in advance, and some of it right now was due, and we paid the money, and now I get pretty good deal on it. I'm really appreciative of it. Got good landlords, never hear no complaint out of them, nothing, absolutely can pretty much do what I want to, and I'm appreciative of that. But anyway, you go, you got to figure all that rent money in, and if you're going to buy land, then you got a land payment. Well, this guy, he had like 60 acres, and he wanted to rent land from his dad, and his dad had this agreement with this man to keep renting. So he got mad at his dad because his dad wouldn't break the agreement. Well, his dad told him, he said, son, you got like 60 acres, just buy you like 10 or so cows and a bull, and run them on that land. It was good land. He said he could probably run 20 cows on it and be okay. But he was like, get you a start and get going. And when he was doing this was back when, you know, about 15, somewhere along in there, cattle prices was really high, 15, 16, I believe it was, when we were getting like $1,400-1,500 an animal. Well, if you spent $300, $400 per animal and you get 15 out of it, hey, that's a good deal. Right now, if we spend, you know, if we figure each calf we've got in the mama, we get $300 in it, then if we get $800, then we're profiting $500, you could say. But anyway, you want to make money is the whole purpose of anything you do. And with me, I don't really make enough to probably cover my time that I spend. But I love working with cattle, so I don't look at that. But I am planning on a day when I will use the land that we own, the cattle, as a retirement. Either sell them and put it in a retirement account, or turn them over to my son and just get some rent money every year, but some way to supplement my retirement income is in the long-term goal of things. That is scheme of things. That's what I'm looking to do. But anyway, you got to look at your place and how everything set up. But this boy got so mad at his daddy, and his daddy says, son, said, I can't break my agreement and all this stuff. And he said, don't buy a whole bunch. They're too high right now. Wait till the price comes down and then buy. And the boy went ahead and bought anyway, and he's already went broke. And he put some on his 60 acres. From what I understand, he went broke, couldn't afford to pay him, just in a mess now with it. So be careful too if you have to borrow money to buy your cows. If I was starting over and I don't have to borrow money to buy cows. We've already got our herd, bought up. But say you did, the best way to do it, and the way we done it, we did borrow and buy 20 cows and a bull. If I'd had it to do over, I wouldn't have. But keep your heifers. But if you just buy one old cow and put her in with the neighbor's bull, most neighbors, if you got good neighbors, they'll let you run your cow over in the springtime with theirs and let her breed, and they don't cost you the bull expense. And once you get you 3 or 4 or 5 cows, then get you a bull and add in there and keep. But build your herd, sell your steers, keep your heifers, and just keep building. All of our animals that we have here now, except for the bulls, were born on this piece of property. They were born right here. So they're gentle. They know the area. I don't have to worry. They hardly ever any gets out. I mean, you have to just pretty much leave a gate wide open and have feed to coax them out of the pen. But that's just a little bit about my ideas on cattle. I did hear a story about a man that he was a rancher, and he was having some financial troubles, a true story, and he was taken out of his job that he had and having to supplement the farm every year, and he was getting to the point he was getting tired of it. So he asked an outsider to evaluate a businessman, say, hey, tell me what you think. So this guy looks at all the numbers and all of his expenses, and he said, well, if you'd get rid of that John Deere tractor you got, you would do a whole lot better. And the man said, well, sir, you don't understand. Said that John Deere tractor is what keeping me and my wife together, keeping us married. So I guess him being out on the tractor was helping their marriage out. So just, but if you buy that kind of stuff and you're expecting your cows to pay for everything, it just don't work that way. And a lot of people think, oh, if I got cows, okay, I'm going to spend $300 a piece on them for feed. That's all I got. But they don't realize that they're probably going to have another $300 in other things. If you're buying land, if you're leasing land, if you're improving your property, I can't stand not to improve my place. So I will put extra money out of my own pocket to keep improving the property all the time, doing something, putting up new fences. We've always got every year some kind of projects, but as I just can't stand not to keep improving and improving. And this place is, over the last 30 years, is just unbelievable. If you could have seen what it was like 30 years ago in the carrying capacity, used to, a 20 cows and a bull would have been running pretty heavy on this place. And now we can run 100 mama cows. Like I say, we got about 18 heifers that have not calved, that are just now of breeding age. So when those get, and it'll be so not this 2020, but 2021 before they ever calf. So we got a while on that to officially say we're at 100. So right now those heifers and trying to grow my herd, that's costing some money too, because they're not going to be producing. The 15 there, no calves, we just got feed going into them. And but one day they will start paying off. But I usually, for some reason, anytime I figured cattle, I figure selling them for $500 a piece on calves. And that way, if anything goes wrong, I've already got my heart set on it. But if I take them and I get $800 a piece, then I'm making some money, and that tickles me to death. If I make $600, I'm tickled. But I know that if I make that $500, at least I'm going to be what I consider a break-even point. So your break-even's where you break between making a profit and a loss. Once you get to that break-even, then anything you make throughout the year, that's just a bonus to your profit. But you don't want to go in the hole. Now on your taxes, there's oftentimes ways legal ways that you can show losses on your farm, depreciation, stuff like that, on things you get with a bookkeeper and say that, because you don't want to pay a lot of taxes either. I mean, if you're not really truly realizing a profit, you don't want to pay taxes on it. Now, if you're taking money out and you get to go to Florida or wherever, overseas trips and things like that, if you're one that likes that, or you like to whatever spend the money and you take some out, of course you're going to have to pay taxes on it if you really and truly make a profit. We'll tell you a little tidbit too about making money around here. They sometimes will have programs where if we're in drought or whatever, you can go and sign up for money. I have never gotten any from it, but my dad used to get some. And one year he got like 7,000. I think he got like 12,000. But at the end of the year, when he went to pay his taxes, he owed 7,000, and he didn't have the money to do it. Now, I'll just tell you all that because they charge you taxes on that money you get, as they consider that income. So if you get money like that, the purpose of it is to spend it on your farm, buying feed and stuff. So somehow you need to spend that in a way that's tax deductible to help save you some money some way or another. And then a good accountant, a good bookkeeper can help you, and especially really before now. This is almost the end of the year that I'm doing this video, but probably like September, October somewhere, you probably need to go and sit down with your bookkeeper, especially if you just sold calves in the fall. A lot of ranchers will sell their calves in August, September, October. Then when you've done that, then go ask your bookkeeper, what is the best thing I need to do with my money? Do I need to spend it all on investments, or do I need to hang on a little bit of it? What's going to save me the most in taxes? And they can help you out a whole bunch. In fact, sometimes they might tell you for best tax advantage this year, hang on to your calves until after the first of the year. You'll be in a better shape, and then the money that you make off those, you'll have a whole year to spend it instead of being taxed on your profit. You've got a whole year, and if you spend it and you've got expenses, there's a lot of ways, I call them loopholes, but they're legal means in the tax code to be able to take advantage of, especially for farmers. All of your expenses, your gas expenses, stuff like that. I have been told that you can go buy a firearm and count that off. If you're using it to kill coyotes or wild hogs, you can go buy equipment and firearms and count those off on your taxes. So here in Oklahoma, you can get a sales tax permit if you have a farm, and then anything you buy for your farm, your feed, even tools and things like that, you don't have to pay taxes on that. You can buy diesel fuel for your farm tractors and no taxes, and that adds up a whole lot, and that helps with your bottom line. If you don't have to pay no taxes, then that's you got more money that you're getting out of your animals to put back into your farm. But that's a legal means that they have here in Oklahoma, and you go to your county office and you sign up there, and they'll give you this little card, and you don't have to pay sales taxes on your feed and supplies and things. So that really works out good. Anyway, if you're just getting started in cattle, I want to wish you well. There's more to tell, and I could do charts and figures and all kinds of stuff. But if you have a question about cattle cost or expenses, put your comment below here, and I'll try to respond to you the best I can. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, and if you want more videos like this, you would like to see more, I plan on putting up something every Thursday. I call it Cattle Talk, but this ain't all talk videos. Sometimes I go out and work cattle, but when you're talking about finances, that's pretty much the time, and it's cold outside, so I've come in the house here and just sit down doing this little simple video here about cattle. But if you like this videos and stuff, or if you got suggestions that you would like to have for other videos related to cattle, put a comment down below, and I'll certainly take it under advisement, and we'll see what we can do. But if you like it, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and there's a little bell. If you click that little bell, and it'll ask you if you want all and any videos that I put up, you'll get notified, and then you'll be able to watch us every week. But we try to do the cattle talk, this type of cattle business stuff, every Thursday at 7 o'clock. I've got other videos. Check them out if you've never done that before. And God bless you, and we're gone.